Hi, how are you? Welcome to iRose, and on this channel I talk about addiction and life after addiction, because yes, there is life after addiction. Today I'm going to share a little bit about my bankruptcy story, how that came to be, how I got through it and how I was able to rent an apartment. What I learned from it, I would like to share to you. So I would like to share a couple tips on what helped during the rental leasing process and then what didn't work. So stick around. So first of all, I'm no finance person. No, not at all. In fact, I'm quite the opposite. I have a bankruptcy and I'm not ashamed, okay? Okay, I'm not. And I filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy in 2019 and it lifted a burden off of my back. I mean, so a little bit of backstory. I had a shopping addiction due to some drug use. I would use the drugs and then I would just spend hours shopping. And it was a dopamine kick for me, for sure. And it was a bad cycle that I had to overcome. But once I did overcome it, I had a lot of bills, a lot of debt hanging over my head. So I had nearly $30,000 worth of debt. So I went from someone with a really decent credit score to like 400 something. So it was near 700. I think that's pretty decent, right? And yeah, so it went to 400 something and it was so bad. I was negative $800 in my checking account. And one time my mom, she transferred $500 into it just to help me a little bit. And I was still negative. And then they just closed the account. They didn't even contact me or tell me. They just closed it. I think that they could see that I just was trying to make it work. I was trying, but I couldn't. Yeah, they just shut it down. And I don't blame them. That was right. They have the right to do that. But just I don't know. They never told me. I never got anything in the mail either. They just shut it. That's just so weird to me. What? Okay. Yeah, I had all this debt and a lot of the stuff that I purchased, I didn't even get to keep because it was stolen from me when I was evicted out of this home that I lived in. So this is it's a tangled story a little bit, but I was going to open an online store with all the things that I bought, because I would spend hundreds of dollars at Goodwill, hundreds, multiple times a week I would go. Then I got evicted because the owner, he lived there too. He wanted his ex-wife to move in, but take my room. Yeah. So then I was okay, what if I pay you $50 a month? Can I leave my stuff here? Spoiler alert, I didn't have $50 to pay him per month. So that doesn't give him the right to steal my stuff. But what happened was his ex ended up taking all of my stuff that she wanted. Jewelry and stuff too. I don't know why I left that there. Don't ask me, because I think I was gonna be excited when I got back and it was still there, but it wasn't. Yeah, so she took what she wanted and I guess she donated what she didn't want, but whatever, I'm not gonna go into that because it's a long story. So I was homeless, traveling around with whatever I could take with me on my car, literally on my car. Look, I was traveling around the US for 10 months. And finally I went to my mom's and she accepted me in. And this was in 2018. And I got a job right away and I was making $17 an hour. And I was trying to pay these bills off. I was trying. I was realizing hey, I'm not paying. I can't actually make a dent. I'm just paying the interest, $60. And it's the interest on these cards. It must have been, I think within 4 months or so, I was all right, well, no. I'm not doing this. This is a waste of my time and money and I'm never going to be able to get out of here. So I filed bankruptcy and I'm so thankful that I did. It just helped. It just released a burden off of my back and I'm sure I'll have to pay it off in another life. So ready for the first tip? Tip number 1, be upfront with the leasing agency. Just be upfront about your bankruptcy. That's it. That's going to eliminate probably a lot of places. And it's going to save you a lot of time and effort and frustration too, and money, right? Because an application that costs $50 some places, and I mean, who wants to pay that application if they're just gonna be like, no, you got bankruptcy, right? So that was always the first question. Once I found a place that I liked, I would always just ask them, will you rent to someone who has a bankruptcy? And most of the time, no, they won't. And that's fine. Okay, tip number 2. Once they say like, yeah, we'll rent to you, go visit. Please go visit the rental place. Yes, go visit the rental place, because, you know, I signed the lease for the first place that said, I just signed the lease and I never visited it because I was just like, no, like, first of all, I have 2 jobs, I go to school, I don't have time. So, and I was like, it looks amazing and it's within my price range, and they said that they would take me. So I just signed it, and that came back to haunt me. So I ended up signing a lease for a place that I never visited. And when I got there, even though it said smoke free, guess what? Everyone was smoking. It smelled like smoke so bad. And I'm not a smoker, and it actually affects me. Like, I'm really sensitive, and I would get lightheaded constantly. So like, I moved into this apartment, like I couldn't get out of the lease at the time. And this was in February of 2022, and it was 222. And I was just like thinking that I was manifesting this great place, and I didn't. And it was just it was really depressing. So I ended up having to break that lease because, well, I didn't break the lease. They broke the lease because of the smoking, okay? So I was able, after taking them to court, whatever, guys. And then I learned a few things that didn't work for me. It didn't really matter. A little bit after I had that $17 job, I mean, I got laid off during COVID, like a lot of people, but I got a new job and they started paying me like a lot more. And so then I was able to save a lot of money. And then I also had like student loans that I had too. So I had saved up enough money that if I found a place, I thought like, oh, I could go and I could just pay it all, like the whole year's lease. I could just pay it all up front. And what I learned was they didn't care about that. So like, I don't know, I wouldn't really recommend that you offer that, because also I think I might have looked a little suspicious, because first I'm like,
hey, do you take people with a bankruptcy?
And then they're like, and then I'm like,
well, what if I paid you up front?
And then another thing that didn't really work for me was offering a cosigner. So that didn't really entice anyone to want to approve me either. So that might be helpful for other people. I mean, you might want to offer, hey, what about like, will you take me with a cosigner? People might. It didn't work for me, but it's another tip out there in the world, in the stratosphere, that could maybe work. And my last thing that I want to say about this is just don't settle. Don't think that just because you have a bankruptcy that you are some worthless human being. No, you're amazing. And I want to tell you why. Why? Because you've overcome so much hardship, and literally you're getting better. Dude, that's amazing. And like, okay, I think I learned, especially after I did settle for that apartment, that I should have never settled. And I think that that's reinforced that in me. So I wanted to share that like, I don't need to be stuck in a smoking apartment. Like, that wasn't my trajectory. Like, that wasn't meant for me, I don't think. So that's why I was able to get out. And thankfully we ended up settling that, and I didn't have to pay any sort of fees or whatever, because they did break the lease. I did have to take them to court, but we did settle. Yeah, so these things, I mean, just if you're signing a contract, that's a big deal. So that's something I learned too, is just take it seriously, because it's going to be where you will be dwelling for at least probably 12 months or whatever. And you deserve the best. So yes, thank you for watching today. I hope you had a great day, a great time. We'll see you next time. Yeah, definitely subscribe if you want to, learn more about cool stuff. And what else? Yeah, visit my blog, irose2222, because I have some exciting things that I'm working on, and I would love for you to stay connected. So, all right, we'll see you in the next video.